What's up, Dodger fans? Happy NLDS Day. Game 1 in just a couple of hours between your Los Angeles Dodgers and the San Diego Padres. First pitch coming up at around 5:38 on FS1 Fox Sports. Kevin Klein speaking. I am joined today by Chris Camello making his return back to the live stream. Chris, how you doing? How you feeling about this matchup? We're going to dive into all of it. We got the Dodgers lineup. We'll talk about that. The NLDS rosters are out. Exciting day. Game 1. Here we go.
You know, Kev, first of all, thank you for having me on. I could sum up today with how I've been feeling the last 3-4 days, and I've been putting this gif out. Bring ya ass. I'm quoting the great Anthony Edwards from the Minnesota Timberwolves. Bring ya ass. And I'm tired of Dodger Nation. Oh, we're cooked. We're going to get swept. We're going to lose. I don't like this defeatist mentality. I think that's a little bit, I don't want to say a certain P word about Dodger fans, but I don't like it. Let me just say that. Listen, I don't know how this series is going to shake out, Kev. You don't know how this series is going to shake out. Nobody knows how this series is going to shake out. So you know what? F it. Let's go out. Let's play. Let's have some damn fun. Let's get some get back, and let's enjoy ourselves some stressful yet fun October baseball. And I'll say it again. Bring your ass, Dodger Nation.
All right. Appreciate everyone joining us today. Hit that like button. And if you're new to the podcast, always appreciate the subscriptions as well. Very excited today. The Dodgers kind of gave us a little bit of a scare. It was Freddie Freeman gate because the last couple of hours, Roberts addressed the media, wasn't sure if Freddie was going to be in. We saw Max Muncy working out at first base. Kike Hernandez was working out at third base. And I was like, oh, shit. After everything they've been saying the last week or so with Freddie being good, he should be able to play. Freddie himself saying he's good. If the Dodgers needed Freddie Freeman in the lineup against the Rockies, if those games were going to count for something, he'd be in. And then all of a sudden, here we are, game day. And now Freddie Freeman was questionable, but he is in the starting lineup, and it is going to be the regulars that the Dodgers are rolling out there.
Yes, sir.
I don't think the Padres have dropped their lineup just yet.
It'll be what it was probably in the wild card round. I don't think they're because the Dodgers are throwing out a right-hander. So, the only, I guess, yeah, because their catchers are right-handed too. And plus, Higashioka has been swinging a hot bat. So I think you'd want him in the lineup. So, yeah, I think what we saw last week against the Dodgers and what we saw against the Braves in the wild card round is probably going to be on par with that. Arise, Tatis, Profar, Machado.
Yeah, we'll get to it when it's announced.
Sorry.
But for now, so the Dodgers lineup, here it is. Shohei Ohtani leading off at DH, Mookie Betts in right field, Freddie Freeman in there hitting third at first, Teoscar Hernandez will be the cleanup hitter in left, Muncy at third, Will Smith catching, hitting sixth, Gavin Lux, second baseman, batting seventh, Tommy Edman, my X Factor, batting eighth in center, and Miguel Rojas back in there as well, hitting ninth and at shortstop. So no surprises here. This is the Dodgers A-plus lineup that they've been rolling out all season. So it's good to see all 9 guys in the lineup. Let's go. Chris, thoughts on what the Dodgers' approach has to be against the Padres? Dylan Cease is on the mound for San Diego.
So here's the good thing about playing the Padres when you did. You got a recent look at Dylan Cease, right? We know Dylan Cease can deal, but what did the Dodgers, what was their approach to him last week, even though they still had to come back late against him? Grind him out. Grind out these at-bats. Make him throw pitches. Don't be overly aggressive. Make sure you're swinging at strikes, ambush those fastballs, but make sure you're making him work. Try to, you don't want 7-8 pitch innings against Dylan Cease. You want to try to at least get him out of there in 5, maybe 6 innings, maybe. So that's the thing. And if you could spot Yamamoto some early run support, that would be good. But I think the objective has got to be to grind him out.
That is the most important key to the game. My additional keys to this game, the Dodgers from Yamamoto, they need they need a scoreless first inning and keep the Padres off the board. That way the fans are in the game, and the Dodgers really need to score first in this game. I think that's going to be almost crucial to the outcome of this game. If the Dodgers can get an early lead and hold on to it, that's going to ignite a fire in Dodger Stadium. The fans are going to be very heavily invested and involved in this game, and that should build some momentum because I feel like in the last couple of years, Dodgers fall behind early, Dodger Stadium's quiet. opposing team holds on to the lead. They have momentum on their side. They don't lose grasp of the lead. And then we just fall asleep and go down quietly. So I think someone like Ohtani or Mookie Betts, they're the table setters. Get on the board early and rally for Yamamoto so he's got a lead to work with.
Sure, absolutely. And if you recall, Kev, all 3 games last week against the Padres, they were all behind in those games. And they were able to come back in 2 of them, almost came back in a 3rd one. But of course, we know the triple play heard around the world. And, what some guys on MLB Network called the best play all year. I think it was Harold Reynolds that said that about Manny Machado. But the fact of the matter was, you want to continue to see good at-bats. You want to see grinding. What you want to avoid is them hitting you with a big inning early. Like we saw Cleveland this morning against Detroit. Right out of the gate, they slammed Holton for 5 runs in that first inning, and that just kind of snowballed everything from there. So what you want to do for the Dodgers is avoid what happened to Holton and the Tigers this morning. And also, I hate to bring this up, avoid what happened to Kershaw in game 1 of last year's series against the Snakes.
Oh, absolutely. And speaking of Clayton Kershaw, he spoke to the media just like less than a half hour ago. Clayton Kershaw is done for 2024. Apparently, the toe injury has gotten worse. He won't be able to pitch at any capacity for the Dodgers the rest of this season. And now he is going to have to undergo further testing and may have to get surgery on the toe. And who knows what else is going on. TBD, and if he's coming back for 2025. But again, these are issues we don't need to worry about right now because the focus is the Dodgers chasing that 2024 World Series. I do want to get into the NLDS roster. I don't know if you had any thoughts on what the Dodgers rolled out today. There were surprises initially, but then after the fact, it's less of a surprise given the context we were provided. But yeah, we'll start there. The Dodgers dropped their 26-man NLDS roster, of course, 13 pitchers, 13 hitters.
Yeah, and there were some names that were missing. Kevin Kiermaier, who, if you recall, Kev, the Dodgers essentially chose him over Jason Hayward. They cut ties with Jason Hayward because they liked what Kiermaier was doing. They liked the defense that he was providing, and now he's left off the roster, which in place of Andy Pages. And I know we got a question from Javier T. Would y'all start Pages over Rojas? We'll get to that in a sec. But I think it's all because who's swinging the hot bat. And Pages swung a very hot bat over the last 6 games of the season, including a home run against the Padres in that kind of put that game on ice in the rubber matchup I believe it was last Thursday night, right? Or 2 Thursdays ago. I can't remember. So, so I think, good for Andy being on there. He's a guy who can play all 3 outfield positions. He'll likely be a backup center fielder, but wouldn't shock me if we see him in left either. And I think the other surprise is Edgardo Henriquez and Michael Grove, Kevin's favorite pitcher of all time, made the postseason roster over Smoking Joe Kelly. And Kev, I want to get your thoughts on that because I know how you feel about Michael Grove.
Michael Grove is so bad. I don't know what the Dodgers are thinking here, inviting him to be on the postseason roster. You look into the stats of just how he's been doing for the Dodgers over the last few stretches. Let's see. Last 7 games, 6.52 ERA. Last 15 games, 5.79 ERA. Last 30 games, that's 36 innings, a little better, 4.75 ERA. But at the end of the day, this guy is not good. He has 2 games, 2 innings of postseason experience, a 4.50 ERA. I'm a little bit appalled that Michael Grove is on this roster. I'm obviously wrong because last night I said there's no chance he'd be on this postseason roster. But here he is. He's like a cockroach. You step on him, he just finds a way to stay alive and come back. But here's what's going down. I did not know Joe Kelly was injured. They said earlier today that Joe Kelly, in a bullpen session or some type of throwing workout, hurt himself. So not even in-game activity. So Dodgers 2024 injury curse. Another arm goes down. It sounds like he's got the same injury as Gratterall. So RIP, whatever Joe Kelly's last game was with the Dodgers, that's probably it because I don't think he's coming back next season. So thank you for all the memories, Joe. Enjoy wherever you're going on to next season because I would not personally re-sign him. So that's it for Joe Kelly. I think he's dead. So that's why Grove's on. I know some people would say, well, why not have Kasperius, the rookie who kind of had some good good sample sizes for the Dodgers. I mean, ultimately, I think they just want experience, but I don't think we'll see Michael Grove, at least I hope, in high leverage situations. It'll be garbage time. You do need always that garbage arm out there. And hopefully that's what Michael Grove's doing, is just he's mopping up the floors after the game is over.
And just to provide some perspective on Grove as well, don't forget he was on last year's divisional round roster. And I want to say he pitched over the 3 games. I think he was in a few mop-up roles. I think in game 1 after the Kershaw mess, he was the next guy out of the pen after Emmett Sheehan. And I think he threw a couple of zeros up. I can't remember, or if he gave up a run. That game was already out of control anyway. And then he appeared again, Kev, got himself into, but then out of trouble in Arizona in game 3, which, the Dodgers, which was important because the Dodgers were still in that game up until the very end. So, yeah, I mean, look, he's not going to be in high leverage situations. So he'll be in if they're up a lot or down a lot, or if you burn through everybody and God forbid there's an in-game injury to one of these pitchers, then you may need him, but also too for extra innings, you might need him as well. But I think the more intriguing one is Edgardo Henriquez. This would, I want to say, this would only be his 3rd or 4th game at the major league level all year if you were to appear in one of these first 2 games. And Kev, I told you this on Twitter. I get K-Rod 02 Angel vibes a little bit from him with the 104 mile an hour stuff. And more importantly, you have a pitcher in there that the Padres might not be ready for. And I wanted to get your take on that too.
Yeah, he's good. That's a very awesome comp. I mean, the guy started in single A this season and was able to establish himself now as a major league pitcher. I believe he did face the Padres at least once this season. I'm pretty sure there's highlight reel of him striking out Manny Machado. I like the ad. It makes sense with Gratterall going down. You get a like-kind type of arm who can throw over 100 miles per hour. The control with the pitches is a little bit of a concern. Hopefully the moment doesn't get to him, but as long as he's throwing fastballs at the corner and not down the middle and can get command of his secondary stuff, he should be a fun ad. At some point, you got to just trust the talent. And I like that the Dodgers have the balls to put this guy on the postseason roster. So he makes a lot of sense. Happy for
sure.
him.
Yeah, and it's power against power. And, we were thinking the only other guy that I thought they would consider, and we were almost in this situation last year, right? We thought, wait, Walker Buehler getting ramped up. Could he be even a multi-inning reliever for the Dodgers in that Arizona series? And then, of course, that didn't happen. Walker's a younger arm. He was coming into a contract year. We were almost in a similar scenario with Tony Gonsolin. Gonsolin looking good in rehab, looking good in his, his starts at AAA. Not starts, but he was throwing 2 or 3 innings down in AAA OKC. And I guess the thought process was, at least for me, is if you're that concerned with starting pitching, should you throw a guy with starting pitching experience to piggyback mostly a Landon Knack start? That was my theory. So, but he hasn't thrown an inning in the big leagues all year long. He doesn't have a very good postseason ERA in the past when he has been healthy. So it's a complete wild card. And I think the Dodgers are practicing the same patience and prudence this year with Gonsolin as they did last year with Buehler. So that was the only other surprise, if you want to call it that of who was left off the roster, and Brent Honeywell as well. But I think he's dealing with the fingernail injury.
He's on the IL. I don't think he was eligible until NLCS. I want to get to your guys' questions. Hit that like button if you haven't yet. I want to get your guys' thoughts. Postseason is here. So let's get to Javier T's question to kick it off. Would you all start Andy Pages over Miguel Rojas? I mean, in this game, no. I mean, Miguel Rojas is absolutely the starter because, one, he plays exceptional. He's their best defender at the shortstop position, and you want to keep runs off the board, especially in the playoffs. Runs come at a premium here, and you cannot afford to give extra outs. Go back to 2022 when Trey Turner did that, really bit the Dodgers. So you trust Rojas there defensively. Bat-wise, I feel like they're almost comparable at this point. I think Pages might be a little bit more pop, but Rojas definitely more contact, and Rojas is an experienced veteran. I don't think Pages makes sense to start just yet. Although if Martin Perez starts for the Padres, then you can get them both in the lineup. But yeah, Rojas is a must start for me.
Yeah, I agree. The experience, the leadership, being there. And don't forget, last year, guys, we saw a rookie start in center field, and that was James Outman, and he made a critical error that caught. And I don't want to say that's what caused Kershaw to get blown up in that first inning against Arizona, but it certainly didn't help. And it set a bad tone for the Dodgers in that game and ultimately in that series. So you want to have, I agree, Kev, you want to have your best defensive players out there. Just one thing to keep in mind, just like with Freddie Freeman, Rojas, just like everyone else with the Dodgers, it seems like, is dealing with the groin injury. So that could be something that if it gets re-aggravated tonight, if he moves and it gets re-aggravated or tweaked or something is now not right, that may be an option you explore. But I also believe Tommy Edman is not a bad defensive player. But I just think Rojas, with the experience, the leadership, everything he brings to the table, it's more tailor-made for what they need in October. And it's just better to have Tommy out there in center for now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess I was wrong. The Padres announced their starting lineup over an hour ago. I guess I missed that news. But this is why I think Chris Taylor made the postseason roster for the NLDS over Kevin Kiermaier. You look at what the Padres have in their pitching staff, there's a lot of lefties. Wandy Peralta, Yuki Matsui, Martin Perez, if he were to come out of the pen, Adrian Morahone, Tanner Scott, and Alec Jacob, who I'm not too familiar with, but there are a bunch of lefties to go with the few right-handed starters that we'll see with Cease, King, and Darvish. Right. Infield-wise, yeah, there's no surprises here what the Padres are throwing at us. But yeah, I mean, it makes sense that the Dodgers would want to have these options with Chris Taylor, Kike Hernandez, and Andy Paez, and I guess Barnes, of course. But hopefully we don't get Austin Barnes pinch hitting with the game on the line, because if this happens again, I'm fucking done, man. Fucking done.
Yeah, no, it'll be interesting to see. And I think, you have to kind of put out there that who is swinging a hot bat, who is not. And, Dave, here's the thing, and this is a hot take, but not really. And Kev, you agreed with me last year when I came on after the Dodgers were eliminated. I don't think last year's series sweep was on Dave Roberts as far as execution or in-game management, where people, I think, and if you ask most Dodger fans, I think they would agree, because the bullpen management was great. They just, nobody hit. The guys that got you there completely disappeared. They went AWOL. They, as my colleague Nick Hamilton would say, they were on the milk carton all-stars. So I don't think it was the in-game management. Where it is did Dave get these guys mentally prepared? And I think for me, he's doing that this year. He's trying to avoid a third straight first-round meltdown. And I think given everything that the Dodgers have gone through this year, the late game, the late season pennant race with the Padres, the fact that the Padres beat them 8 out of 13 times this year, the fact that they've had a ton of injuries, the fact that they missed out on 100 games, and the fact that everybody, 20%, 80% of the experts are picking the Padres to win this series, that's going to light a fire under your tail. And I want to have a hold my beer moment from Dave and the Dodgers to say, oh, you guys want to pick the Padres? Watch this. I think y'all done forgot what we're capable of doing, on a big stage, because we haven't done it. So now let's prove the doubters wrong and tell them, hey, I remember Michael Jordan told this story. I took care of you. I took care of you. And now tonight I'm going to take care of you in the 89 playoffs against the Cavs, when everybody was picking Cleveland over Chicago. The Dodgers need to have that moment.
I don't know what's going on in Philadelphia. Weren't Jeff Hoffman and Matt Strom all-stars? Well, they blew the game, apparently. So
a lesson. Kev, what did I tell you online? All of these bullpens have gotten hit so far in these playoffs. A lot of these prominent bullpens, with the exception of Cleveland, everyone has gotten hit. So even if Dodger fans out there are like, oh, it doesn't matter about our starters, we have a good bullpen. Watch out for that line of thinking. Anybody could get hit. And honestly, Kev, we've seen that because of the overusage this year. These guys have gotten hit. Hudson, Trinan, Phillips, everybody with the exception of maybe Michael Kopech, but maybe he was getting hit in Chicago. So it happens, man. This is why starting pitching is so important, to get at least 5 to 6 innings. Heck, even the Padres got hit the other night by Atlanta.
Yeah. All right. So here's my unsolicited free underdog fantasy pick that I'm rolling with today. The Pick'ems. I think the Yankees are already playing now, but I've got the Juan Soto higher on 7.5 fantasy points. I like Juan Soto today. I am repping my Shohei Ohtani shirt right here. I'm going higher on 1.5 total bases for Shohei Ohtani. I think he's going to get at least 2 singles or an extra base hit. And then I'm going lower on Luis Arias for 1.5 hits plus runs plus RBIs. I think they can contain Arias, and the guys that I'm most worried about in this series, like I was saying last night, Manny Machado, Fernando Tatis Jr., and Jackson Merrill. That is the three-headed monster that the Dodgers are going to have to contain.
Yeah, and I would also advise Dodgers. If you recall 2 years ago, and by the way, I have an update for you with Juan Soto. He hit a double, and he's at third right now for the Yankees. They're in the bottom of the first of that game 1 against KC. So going back to your bet. One of the reasons why the Padres beat the Dodgers in 4 games 2 years ago, that bottom third of the lineup, Cronenworth, Ha-Seong Kim, and I believe the catcher was Austin Nola, they destroyed Dodger pitching in that first round series. And that eventually set the stage for the Sotos and Machados and Profar, et cetera. So for me, your concern is at the top, middle of the lineup, of course. I'm not saying you're wrong, but Higashioka's homered twice already in 2 games. Cronenworth has done a number on the Dodgers through the years, and I also wouldn't sleep on Donovan Solano either. So pay attention to that bottom third. Those guys could be the outlet to getting back to the top of the order and setting the stage for the Arise, the Tatis, Profar, and so forth. So just get those 7, 8, 9 guys out as well.
So it is Arias leading off, Tatis Jr. batting second, Profar hitting third, Machado cleanup, Merrill center at fifth, Bogarts hitting sixth, Cronenworth, Donovan Solano, and Higashioka, the catcher, with Dylan Cease on the mound. So yeah, like you were saying, that is the Padres' go-to lineup that they've been rolling with, and the Dodgers have their hands full. But this is where it's going to come down to Yamamoto asserting himself in this game. He's got to be efficient with his pitch count. Yes. I don't expect him to be on a very long leash. Wouldn't be shocked if they pull him before he even gets through the end of the 5th inning, because the Dodgers have been pretty conservative with his pitch count and his how stretched out he is. So if he goes 80 pitches, that might be all we get from Yamamoto, because this guy still has like 11 more years left on his contract, if we're looking big picture here. But yeah, Yamamoto's got to throw strikes. The splitter is going to be huge for him, in the curveball, keeping these Padres hitters off balance.
Clean first inning, Kev. Clean first inning. His ERA is almost 6 in the first inning alone, and then he settles in. Get through that first inning, especially with Arise, Tatis, and Profar. You do not want to find yourself in a 2-3 run hole before your team actually has a chance to get up to bat. Getting through that first inning is going to be critical tonight for Yamamoto. Would you agree?
Yes, that is very spot on. The first inning is going to be huge. Guys that will be batting in the first inning potentially. Tatis is 2 for 2 lifetime against Yamamoto. Machado, if he gets up, is 1 for 2 with a 2-run home run. And then looks like no one else has done much damage against him, but Jake Cronenworth, I believe this was hit in Korea, has a 1 2-run triple that he was able to connect off Yamamoto. So those are the guys that have had some success against Yoshinobu Yamamoto in the past. But I mean, I think the formula is going to look like this for the Dodgers tonight. I think Yamamoto goes, I'll say, probably 4 1/3 or 2/3. And then we kind of have to, I wouldn't know off the top of my head who's coming in first based off, I can't predict who's batting, but there's going to be some type of path where expect to see Blake Trinan tonight, Alex Vesia tonight, Evan Phillips tonight, and Michael Kopech. I think at a bare minimum, you'll see 4, if not 5 Dodgers relievers in this game tonight. And they're all fresh. They're all rested. So they are all available for Dave.
For sure. And I would say Phillips, Kopech, in no particular order, Phillips, Kopech, Vesia, and Trinan. Those are your core 4. That's tier 1 of your relievers. Yeah. Tier 2 would be Hudson, Brazier. Good, but you got to watch. And I would throw Anthony Banda in there. So I would say if your prognosis is, prognosis negative, like in Seinfeld, if your prognosis is correct, that would leave probably about 14 outs to get, give or take. So you would need then a couple of bridges there. And if you can get an inning out of third out of Banda, an inning out of third out of Brazier, whoever comes out of the bullpen first, also depends on what part of the lineup is coming up for the Padres, then that could at least give you a bridge to get to Vesia, Phillips, Trinan, and then Kopech. depending on the game situation. And that's all going to depend on the lead, the score, all of that stuff, or the deficit for that matter. So, but I think you're right. I think you're going to see some combination of those 3 or 4 guys, but I would say not early in the game, later in the game, unless of course he comes out with the bases loaded and 1 out. And then you may need one of your most high leverage relievers right then and there.
Absolutely. Seeing if anyone else has any comments for us. Let's go Dodgers. Drop your questions, or if you got any comments on tonight's game, throw out your predictions. Drop the scores. Who do you think's going yard for the Dodgers? I'll read them out. So drop your predictions, and we'll give you guys a shout out. Really appreciate all you guys tuning in. But yeah, so this game is about an hour and a half away. Hopefully Dodger Stadium is packed. I can't believe they're charging $50 for parking now.
I thought it was 45.
I think online it's 45, but if you don't do online, it's $50.
Gosh.
Bill Shaken of the LA Times posted a picture, and you could see that nice $50 price tag right there.
My goodness. I quote Kevin Costner from Draft Day. We live in a different world than we did just 30 seconds ago.
Well, Chris, who do you like tonight? If there's one player you feel good about, I don't care if it's Ohtani or if it's Gavin Lux, what does your gut say? What is the one player you think is going to stick out tonight?
Teoscar Hernandez, just based on those comments that he made. He ain't trying to duck no fades, man. That dude wanted the Padres. He wants this moment. He wants to be out there in a high leverage situation. I think one of the things that I thought Teoscar and Ohtani would bring to the table is an edge and an appreciation for being in these moments, especially Ohtani. This is his first time ever in the playoffs. Teoscar's never, I don't think, ever been out of the divisional round ever in his career, going back to his days with the Toronto Blue Jays. So there will be an appreciation of expectations, an appreciation of, the moment, and just basically being like, I'm going to lick my bat. Like, let's go have some fun, man. Don't be afraid of the moment. Embrace the moment. While everyone's running out of a burning building, let's run into it. F the Padres. Let's take them on. That's the mentality that Teo is having, and I wish more Dodger fans would have right now, because there's too many of this defeatist mentality that's really burned me the hell out the last few days, to the point where I want to call a lot of Dodger Nation a certain word, but I'm not going to say it right now because I don't want to offend nobody. But they deserve to get called that, some of them. And you know who you are.
Low 17 is right there with you. He's got Teoscar Hernandez having a big night as well. And that sets me up to my next point. Here are the stats of how Dodgers hitters have fared against Dylan Cease in the past. Mookie Betts is 2 for 9. Tommy Edmonds 1 for 2. Freddie Freeman's 3 for 9. Kike Hernandez isn't starting, but he's 5 for 12 with 1 home run. Teoscar Hernandez is going to have to get the monkey off his bat against Dylan Cease. Monkey off his bat, with the bat, I should say, against Dylan Cease, because he's 1 for 11, 091 batting average lifetime against Dylan Cease. Gavin Lux, 3 for 5. He's had some success. Max Muncy, 1 for 5. Shohei Ohtani, 4 for 15 with 2 home runs. Miguel Rojas, 0 for 3. And Will Smith, 1 for 9. So Dylan Cease has kind of had a lot of these guys' numbers in the past, but it doesn't matter come October. You can dominate a guy. We've seen it with Kershaw many years, be the most dominant pitcher in the regular season, but there's just something different about the October atmosphere. And some guys like Max Fried are just not cut out for it, where they can be lights out all season and then they're just not themselves and they get shelled. And that's actually been Dylan Cease so far early on in his small postseason track record. He's not fared well and he's been shelled. And so the Dodgers have to kind of keep that in the back of their mind and play their game, not Dylan Cease's game.
Sure, absolutely. And they already showed last week that they can get to him, Kev. That's important. Now, if Cease would have came out there and dominated the Dodgers, like similar to what King just did to the gutless Braves the other night. By the way, I don't think I've ever seen a softer group of players. And I don't want to hear the injury excuse, because we've been dealing with that ourselves. Braves went out like some punks. And that whole week, they went out like some punks. I understand the Chris Sale injury was debilitating. I get it. But y'all went out like some punks, Braves country. Punks, seriously, with a capital P. That's what you guys went out like. Max Fried in particular. But there was no Matt Olson, soft. Everyone else on that squad, not named Michael Harris Jr., soft. Brian Snitker, soft. Go home early again. You guys are good at that. over the last few years. You guys have become the kings of that. Might even be worse than the Dodgers. I just wanted to point that out first. But yeah, the point is Cease can get hit. Anybody can get hit, right? And the fact that the Dodgers had a good outing against him, because if you remember, go back to that 2-game set, I believe it was late July, Kev, where the Dodgers got swept and Cease was dominant in one of those games. And I think it was the game that Kershaw got destroyed. And Cease, I think for 7 innings, just dominated Dodger pitching. But the fact that they were able to get to him last week at Dodger Stadium has got to be big for their confidence. And like you said, hopefully some of these guys that are struggling against him can find a way to get on base, get, nothing crazy, just, get a single, get a walk, do something that's going to build your confidence. Furthermore, drive up his pitch count.
So here's a fun fact. If Dylan Cease does get knocked out early, or if Dylan Cease pitches the normal standard that he set for himself, and we get to the Padres bullpen, I wanted to make note that Tanner Scott is a guy we'll probably see a few times in this series, and a few Dodgers that have actually done pretty well against Tanner Scott include Mookie Betts, who's 3 for 6 with a home run and a double and 3 RBIs. Even Freddie Freeman is 2 for 7 with a double. Kike Hernandez is 4 for 4 against Tanner Scott. And Gavin Lux has a home run off Tanner Scott, which I don't remember that going down, but I guess it did. So
maybe a few years ago. Yeah.
But that's interesting that this is a guy that we're expecting to see, and he's a pitcher that the Padres paid a haul for. Mm-hmm. And at least in our back pocket, we have a few guys that have had success against this guy. So it's not the end of the world, hopefully, if we're in a 1-run game and Tanner Scott comes in to pitch for San Diego. I mean, hell, Josh Hader was like one of the highest paid relievers out there. And how did he do this October? Not very good. He's the reason his team's going home early. So
absolutely. Him and Presley. And Presley, sorry to interrupt. Presley was the one that started that disaster in the 8th inning. So, I mean, and Presley's one of the most accomplished, low-key accomplished relievers over the last four years since he got to Houston. So it just goes to show you, I don't care how many scoreless outings, and I hate when these announcers like, oh man, Stephen Vogt is happy to go to that bullpen. Look at what these guys, dude, you ain't playing the Chicago White Sox. You ain't playing the freaking Washington Nationals. This is legit right here. This is different. This is a clean slate, not just clean slate 0-0. It's a clean slate up here for these hitters. So they don't give a shit. Whatever happened through March or September, that don't matter now. I'm going to bust your ass like you're anybody else.
I love it. Chris, you're a pop culture guy. What's a new movie that you've seen recently, or a new show that you can quote?
Oh man. I don't do the new shows that much with, although I do like Tulsa King, with Sylvester Stallone. That's a really good series.
That feels like your kind of show.
Yeah, it is. It's really good. Well, Stallone's killing it, man. He's one of my favorites. No, I like actually the quote from Anthony Edwards. I've been using that. I know Anthony Edwards caught some heat with what he said about the previous generations, but when he won that series him and the Wolves won that series against the Denver Nuggets in last year's playoffs, and he said to Charles Barkley, "Bring your ass," because Barkley was not excited about going to the Twin Cities for the conference finals. I was like, this is the mentality, and obviously it didn't work out with Minnesota, but also too, you got to think that's what you need to have, confidence to go after it and take what you want, but yeah, I think Bring Your Ass has been my favorite one all week, Kev. I'm sorry.
I like it. Anthony Edwards is an awesome player. Some people call him the next face of the NBA. Jose Maida in the chat. I think Freddie Freeman is out for tonight's game. Well, I got good news for you, Jose, and I hope this makes your day. Freddie Freeman is in for tonight's game. He is in the starting lineup as of right now. So unless I've missed something in the last 10 minutes, Freddie Freeman is in.
I can I just say something on this update? So I wonder if he's pointing out to something that was tweeted earlier by one of our colleagues, Michael J. Duarte of NBC. Freddie Freeman is in the starting lineup. This was 45 minutes ago. He could still be scratched, but all signs point to he's starting. So that was his last tweet. That was 45 minutes ago. So we just have to roll with that because unless something happens to that ankle, maybe, if he slips while putting on his shoe or something, hopefully Freeman is all systems go going into at least to start game one. And then we'll see what happens there if he re-aggravates it. See, Kev, what people don't understand about that ankle, and maybe you could comment on this, that is his front foot. It's his right ankle. So it's his front foot when he's batting, and it's his plant foot on the base when he's playing defense. So this is a significant injury from that aspect. It's an ankle that he needs in somewhat good shape, right?
It is, but a guy like Freddie Freeman, who's going to be in the Baseball Hall of Fame, Dodgers are paying him a lot of money. Unless he can't walk, he needs to be in that starting lineup. You look at a player like Kobe Bryant when it comes to the playoffs, he would have to be literally crippled to not be out there on the court. And that's the Mamba mentality. Freddie Freeman demonstrating by getting out there. It looks like he's got that mentality as well. I mean, we signed him to win a World Series, not to have fun and be buddies with Jason Hayward. At the end of the day, his goal should be to bring a championship to Los Angeles. And up until this point, he's done everything to demonstrate that that's his intention. And I'm glad to see that he's got the competitive spirit to be out there, because there's some other guys out there who are a little bit soft. It might not be doing the same thing that Freddie Freeman is. I mean, just take a look at Anthony Rendon down the I-5 with the Angels, and of course Max Scherzer a few years ago. There are some soft, talented players out there. Freeman is not one of them.
No, absolutely. And Rendon's a soft-ass punk. I mean, we all know that. I mean, I think even deep down, he knows that. I'll tell you who's not soft right now. And Kev, you'll appreciate this. Casey's up 1-0 over the Yankees. And you know how they got that run?
Nope.
Your boy, Tommy Pham, sack fly in the second inning. Mr. October, man. That guy loves October. There are certain guys that love October. Certain guys that need to see a therapist during October. Tommy Pham, no way. That is his therapy. Playing in October is his therapy. So shout out to him. And by the way, shout out to Kansas City. I voted for their manager, Quattrero, to be manager of the year. I think he's had a great season. But shout out to that front office. Low key, Kev. They had a great deadline, and right now it's starting to pay dividends for them.
Royals have been sneaky good. I had a feeling behind Bobby Witt Jr. that they were brewing something special. They've got a bunch of guys I've never heard of, but they've had a really great season, regardless of how it ends. Very impressive for them to get this far. Craig Osterberg, what's up, Craig? Always appreciate you hopping on. Put some don't hurt no more stuff on it, as Chick Hearn would say.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, Chick Hearn. Chick Hearn, Vin Scully, win for those guys, Dodgers.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Two icons right there from the Los Angeles broadcasting booth.
Yes, sir. And I think Shaq would call it, put some icy hot on it, big fella. Barbecue chicken.
All right. Well, I don't really have much else to cover. I don't know if you wanted to throw anything out there, Chris, before we kind of get into the final 5 to 10 minute part of the show where we just throw everything out there.
Yeah, I think this is just going to come down, and I know Jake has talked about this, you, me and Jake, we have our own text thread. And one of the things that we commented on, especially after that first loss to the Padres, was as much as we want to talk about the pitching, situational hitting. That's got to be the thing. You can't keep putting 2 men on base with 1 out and come up with nothing consistently. I understand you're going up against some elite starters in this series. You're going to be going up against elite pitching from here on out, no matter how far you get. I understand that. However, you got to be able to move the runner over. You got to be able to, throw something in there that the Padres are not ready for, because I guarantee you Mike Schilt will try some things as well to give Dave Roberts and the Dodgers some things that they're not ready for. So you got to be able to match tit for tat, and not being able to lay down that bunt the other night, with the triple play by Rojas, that was significant. And Dave should have said, lay it down at least one more time. And if you get to 2 strikes, then you swing away, obviously. But the fact you took it off after an 0-1 count, that just to me, that made no sense. What are you doing? Situational hitting. If you don't believe me, watch what the New York Mets have done. Craig just said it, 6-1 in the 9th. They haven't done it with power. They've done it with station to station mother effing baseball. That's how you win in October.
Yeah, speaking of hitting with runners in scoring position, Padres are the second best team in the National League, the best team remaining in the dance. They finished with the .269 batting average with runners in scoring position. But I mean, points wise, the Dodgers were not that far behind. 266. So 269 versus 266. Dodgers finished 5th in the National League with runners in scoring position. But from an OPS standpoint, Dodgers actually were ahead of the Padres with a 790 OPS. Meanwhile, San Diego finished 759. So Dodgers showing a little bit more power with runners in scoring position. But I mean, if I had to make my guess, it's not going to be the starting pitching. It's not going to be the bullpens. It's going to be who gets the job done with runners in scoring position to win this game. You look at the box scores every year, it seems like the Dodgers always have the same amount of hits as the D-backs or the Padres or the Braves, whoever they're facing. And then you look at that very fine line, and it's no, the Dodgers were 1 for 11 or whatever with runners in scoring position, and the other team's 4 for 8 or whatever. And that is my call right there. That's going to be what this boils down to. Some people might say that statistic doesn't matter. To me, it's one of the most important statistics in all of baseball. What you do with runners in scoring position.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad we see eye to eye on that. And I know we're about to wrap up, but I have one question that I wonder if that factored into the decision of Yamamoto starting game 1 and Flaherty in game 2. Do you have any concerns with Jack Flaherty right now? Not from the fact that it can't, from a pressure standpoint, stuff, delivery, velocity. Any concerns there? Because there was a negative story written about that recently.
My concerns are that Jack Flaherty is probably dealing with some fatigue. I don't think he's pitched this many innings as he's done in quite some time.
That's right.
And if the Dodgers are looking to really run this thing out for a full October, they have to be smart with the way they manage him. And I think I said this the last couple of nights. Don't be stupid and bring him out of the bullpen if you don't need it. If someone else is starting and they go 4 or 5 innings and now you got all these options in the bullpen, don't get cute and bring out Jack Flaherty in the NLDS. NLCS or World Series, that's a different subject. You can take more of a gamble there if the situation makes sense. But in the NLDS, given how few options we have with starters, you could not afford to make Flaherty unavailable for a game 1 or game 2 and then potentially put him in a dead arm situation, or hell, not even all that considering. It just ends up like 2019 Kershaw, where it's a guy that's not accustomed to coming out of the bullpen and he's not the best option. And then you bring him out to get cute and he gives up a home run. We do not need to overthink these things, Dave Roberts. This is going out to you.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I want to say, and I could be wrong on this because I know he played for the Orioles last year. The last start Flaherty had in the playoffs was 2019, I think, with the Cards, who made it to the NLCS and got swept by the Nationals. I want to say that might have been his last postseason experience, or the last season where he played a full season, including the playoffs. So I agree. I think that some of it is fatigue more so than any sort of arm issues. And I think that's what also led to Glasnow's injuries. I really think it was fatigue. These guys were not conditioned to pitch this many innings and this many games this season. I know you see the question. Go ahead.
I didn't remember this. And so it's none of our faults. He was in the 2020 wild card game against the Padres. I don't even remember. That's right. I guess the Padres did beat the Cardinals, and then that led to the whole parade and all that the Padres fans now pretend like it didn't exist. But he actually did very well. He threw 6 innings of 1-run ball and 8 strikeouts.
Oh, yes. Yeah. So 2020. Yeah. And I think the injuries started to occur for like 2 years. And then eventually the Cardinals cut ties with him because he was coming up on a contract. So yeah, I figured, okay, it was 2019, 2020. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for the correction on that.
Javier T, y'all going somewhere to watch the game? I'm around. I even threw it out on the Discord chat, which I'll drop right now in the comment section. I mean, I'm around. I live near Culver City. The garage is somewhere I'm open to. I don't know where you guys live, but I've already told my wife that I'm not going out to dinner. I'm committed to this game. That's where my attention will be. And I don't have, no one's around that lives near me so I don't know. I guess I'm an open book.
I'll be going to, so it's me and my girlfriend. We're both big Dodger fans and stuff. She just had a B-day this week, but we're going to watch the Dodger game. We're probably going to maybe do something afterward, either stressful drinking or celebratory drinking, but we're going to go over to my brother or sister-in-law's house with my niece and nephew, get some In-N-Out, watch the game, hopefully not be as stressed with the kids around. It'll be a nice balanced atmosphere and everything like that. So I don't know if I'll be super active on social media, but I'll be watching as much as I can. And hopefully it's a good game. It's not a blowout, and we're going to see some fireworks here tonight.
Hopefully is right. Well, that's going to probably cover the pregame show. Folks, we will be back later tonight to do a post-game show. Me and maybe Jake, if he's around, we'll see. And we'll either be talking a Dodgers win or we'll be talking doom and gloom. Doom and gloom. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't, and hit the like button on your way out. Chris, give me one final thought or one final prediction that you want to say tonight.
Oh man, I want to try to do a quote, going out, but it's tough. It's okay. Gordon Bombay, Mighty Ducks. Have you been practicing the triple deke? Yeah, then you're all set. You may make it, you may not, but that doesn't matter right now, Charlie. What matters is that we're here. Look around you. Whoever thought we would make it this far? 1, 2, 3, triple deke. I believe in you, Charlie. Take your best shot. I don't know. He says, take your best shot. I believe in you, Charlie. Win or lose. Thanks, coach.
This is Mighty Ducks.
Yeah.
What if I told you I've never seen that movie?
Oh, you got it. You got to stream. You got to stream on Disney. And Bob Miller's in it too. He plays the voice of the announcer. Yeah.
I'm not a hockey guy. I don't know anything about hockey.
Neither do I, but it's a classic, dude. Shoot, you think I knew anything about golf? But two of my favorite sports movies are still Happy Gilmore and Tin Cup.
Happy Gilmore's pretty good. Can't wait for Happy Gilmore 2. It's coming soon.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's gonna be really good. Yeah, and they got Chris McDonald. They got Julie Bowen. They're bringing back a lot of the same cast. Obviously, you can't bring back the grandma because she passed away. But no, it's gonna be good. But I've been watching old Dodger highlights. Bellinger's 3-run game-tying home run against the Braves back in 21. The 2-run home run against the Braves. Chris Martin in 2020. So if you need something to get you jacked up in the next hour, go YouTube some highlights. That'll put some goosebumps on your arm, man.
Roy Estrada, Dodgers motto, not like us. Go blue. That's right. They're throwing that Kendrick Lamar down. Fellow Compton native, LA guy, Kendrick Lamar. Javier T, go-to beer. For me, I guess Golden Road. That's my go-to beer. I'll answer any questions that are appropriate. Losing is a disease, the natural, from Craig.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a fun game. Kev, thanks again for having me on, my friend.
All right, everyone, have a fun night ahead. Go Dodgers. It's gonna be one hell of a game. Let's see what happens. Yamamoto, first pitch in about an hour and 10, 12 minutes, whatever the math is. I hope he's ready. I think he's ready. He seems fired up. Let's go Dodgers. Take game 1. Let's freaking go.